Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all other issues from across the universe and galaxy. Today, we're going down under today, Tasmania. We've had guests from Australia before, many of them, but I think this is probably the first, for sure, one of the first, I guess, ever from Tasmania, not too far from Australia. Her name is Kristy Stichter. I don't know. I kind of forget where we met specifically in one of the groups somewhere, but as I understand it, you're getting into the podcast space or you're trying to revitalize your podcast. And you do a lot in Tasmania anyway for blind people, and you have a lot to share. You've had quite the journey so far, as I understand it. So you kind of know how this already works. I will basically mute my microphone for the next hour or so and give you a good chunk of time to answer my question. Who is Kristy Stichter? Go right ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
I'm Kristy. I live in Tasmania. I started learning the piano when I was 4 from my father, and I got into the podcasting world because I have always been interested in learning about it and wanting to hear different sides of things, and decided to do a podcast all about music, which I'm looking for musicians to be involved. It's only started this year, late last year, due to a course that I did to get more involved in it. It's called All Abilities Musicians. I haven't put anything up yet, but it's going up on pinecast and hopefully gets worldwide attention. And was there anything else you needed to know, Aaron?
Yeah, that's very great. Excellent. Okay, that's a good start. So you've been playing the piano for many years of your life. And how did you get into the piano, by the way?
Um, I've always loved music and had a musical father as a background as well, that introduced me to it. So I've always wanted to learn from him.
Excellent. Great. Okay. Well, we here at Aaron's Opinion, we have many musicians in our podcast family. So I want you to try to break down in more detail your podcast and what you hope to do with musicians who are blind and things like that.
I'm trying to make it all inclusive, so not only for blind people, but also people who have other disabilities, who are sighted, um, make it all inclusive. And what I've been getting them to do is do a recording where they talk about when and how they got into music, what inspired them to get into music, what they're doing with their music today, and then perform something at the end of the recording. And I also do an audio introduction from me.
So basically, your music podcast would allow a musician to talk about who they are, highlight their music, and then talk about themselves a little bit more, basically. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Well,
yes.
very good. Very good. So how many episodes have you already released, or how many musicians do you think you would want to interview? Because I already have some people in my mind who you should definitely be interviewing who've had quite the journey and also produce outstanding music. So what is let me phrase the question this way. What is your perception of a podcast, and how should a podcast fit into music, and how should a podcast promote music? What's your whole philosophy about music promotion and podcasting?
Well, the idea that I come up with is to introduce people to all music. Sorry about that. My idea was to get people to introduce themselves and give their outlook on music as well. Um, I haven't put any episodes up yet. I have got a few choirs, and not only am I looking for soloists as well, but choirs and bands, and yeah, just introducing people to all different styles and genres of music. And yeah, I haven't thought of any other way of doing it, but through a podcast or
Very good. Very good. Okay, well that is excellent. So okay, so you would interview people about their choir, their band, who they are as a musician. That would be very
yes.
good. Okay, great. So what are some groups that you hope to be able to interview, or and what is your favorite genre of music, by the way? If you think about music and genre, what's your favorite?
I don't have a favorite genre, but I listen to all music, so I don't there's no particular favorite that I have.
Right, right. Well, that's excellent.
And as for groups,
Mm-hmm.
there's no favorite as well. There's just any that want to do it as well, whether it's instrumentalists, vocalists, um, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're very right. That is also excellent. Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay. Well, that's great. Um, what was I going to say about this? So yeah, and in addition to this musical podcast, um, what other podcasts do you see yourself participating in, or what other podcasts do you think you would want to get involved in?
I'm not sure. I haven't thought of that because I've been listening to a lot, but I haven't. There's only one other that I've participated in, which is for literacy in Tasmania for children.
And what can you tell me about that podcast?
I interviewed a music therapist for it. It hasn't as yet been launched, but it's being launched on the 1st of December. And I don't know much else about it. All I know that it's being launched and yeah,
Okay.
and that I was involved.
Okay. So in other words, were you interviewed or did you interview somebody?
I interviewed someone.
Okay, you interviewed someone. Okay.
Yes.
And are they a music therapist?
Yes, they are.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, because I've never interviewed a music therapist before. That's a very good connection to know of. That's great. Okay. So, and how did you find this person? And why did you interview
Very,
them?
very knowledgeable about what she does. And she's also a choir director. So I'm hoping to get her choir involved in the podcast that I'm doing.
That's good. How did you find her?
Um, the lady that organised the interviews for the podcast that I interviewed the person for, she organised it.
Okay, so I think if I'm understanding, it's you interviewed somebody else for somebody else's podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That is fine. That is fine. And what is that podcast though? Like, what is it called?
It's called Literacy Legends.
Okay. Interesting. Literacy legends. Hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And, what do they do?
They introduce people to all different people talking about literacy in Tasmania, what it's like for children and what it's like for people with disability as well.
Right. Right. Which leads me to my next question to kind of, segue a little bit not necessarily away from podcasts, but to talk more about you as a person in Tasmania. So, like I said, I've interviewed several other blind people from Australia, but not Tasmania. So, for those in the audience who forgot or maybe are not as familiar, so where is Tasmania exactly, and what can you tell me about Tasmania, and growing up there with a disability? What is it really like there in Tasmania?
It is, I love it. It's an hour flight from Melbourne, or you can catch the ferry over as well. But very quiet, very peaceful. It does get busy in the cities, but where I live, it's very peaceful.
Okay, good. And what is the main city in Tasmania called?
Well, there's 3 cities in Tasmania. The capital city, which is Hobart, which is 4 to 5 hour drive from where I live. There's Launceston. Sorry, there's 4 major cities. There's Hobart, Launceston, Devonport, and Burnie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting.
And Devonport's where the boat comes in.
Right, right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Good. Very interesting. Okay. So were you born on Tasmania?
Yes,
Interesting. Okay. And were you born in the capital or like what city were you born in?
I was born in Burnie.
You were born in Burnie, Tasmania.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. So you say that you're living in rural Tasmania now. So what can you tell me about like the nature there? Because I love snakes and lizards and interesting creatures. So what creatures would I find in Tasmania?
They do have Tasmanian devils. I've heard about them saying about Tasmanian tigers as well. We do have
Right.
snakes and um, emus as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Good. Interesting. And that's fine. So have you seen any of these wild animals in Tasmania?
I haven't seen um, Tasmanian devils or tigers, but I have seen emus. We've had emu. So,
Yeah. Yeah, they're very fascinating. Definitely. Definitely.
yes.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So in my case, Christy, I was born blind with glaucoma. What is the cause of your blindness, by the way?
That's okay. It's called optic nerve hyperplasia.
Okay. And were you born with this condition?
Yes.
Okay. So you've been blind most of your life, right?
Yes.
And so how old are you?
I'm 38.
Okay. So you're a few years older than me, but not by much. Right. Yeah, interesting. You were born, well, a few years older, so in the 80s, and I was born in the 90s, right? Okay. So what can you tell me about like going to school in Tasmania and things like that?
I enjoyed it. I started learning Braille when I was 7, and I also know Braille music as well. And they have a national Braille music camp here in New South Wales once a year, and I used to go to attend that and help out. I used to be a student there, and on one of the last years that I went, there was another lady from Tasmania who um, didn't was only just learning Braille, and I knew more of it than her. So she asked me if I, and they gave her some students to teach, and I actually helped her with that on the last couple of days.
hmm Okay, good. So it's interesting how you started learning Braille when you were 7. I started Braille when I was 3. So that is very interesting. Why did you start learning when you were 7?
That's the age they started teaching children in Tasmania.
Okay, good, good. Um, so like, what can you tell me about like the Tasmanian, um, and would you say Tasmanian or do you just say Australian, by the way, for the educate, like, do you say you're Tasmanian or do you say you're Australian living in Tasmania?
I say Tasmanian, but
Okay.
other people might say Australian living in Tasmania.
Okay, so it's a little interchangeable. I see. Okay. So what can you tell me about the Tasmanian education system and how they're like, what is the approach to education in Tasmania?
For blind people, it's a normal school, mainstream school, and they have visiting teachers come to teach you Braille or um, orientation and mobility as well.
Okay, good. And okay, that's fine. And so children start their schooling when they're 7, around that age, right?
No, they start when they're 5, but they don't start learning Braille until they're 7 for some reason.
Right, right. Perhaps they feel that until you're 7, you aren't, maybe it's about the maturity level. Maybe they've noticed
Yeah, I'm not sure.
it might be that they might have noticed that
Yeah,
students aren't really mature enough until they're 7. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. Could be. Okay. So children in Tasmania start school when they're 5, right? And
yes.
do Tasmanian children go to school all the way until they're 18? Like, how is the country structured? Would you
It
say?
is it is compulsory to do up to year 12 now, I think.
Right.
And then you can go on to university to do whatever profession you want to do or TAFE, which is um, another education system here in Tasmania.
Right. Right. So in Tasmania, do most people choose university after high school?
Um, Not always. I think some people do choose that. Some people do um, TAFE as well, or they do an apprenticeship with whoever they choose to work for.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So what did you specifically study in university?
I haven't done any university degree, but I'm hoping to become a music teacher, and that's done at a university.
Right, right. Okay, so you're very interested in music and education, right? So
Yes.
what do you really want to do when it comes to being a music educator? There's a lot that you can do with that. So what do you really want to do?
Teach piano and also specialise in Braille music
Hmm.
because there's only
Okay.
one other teacher in Tasmania that I've heard that teaches Braille music.
Right. Yeah. Braille music is
That's
really
actually
important.
blind.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Braille music is really important. Yeah, it truly is. It helped me when I was playing the flute during my music, when I was going through schooling and things like that. So that is very, very good. Yeah. Okay. Um, so, well, what would a music education degree like look like in Tasmania? What courses would you need to take? Like, how would they structure and approach music
At the
education?
moment, as far as I know, they do a Bachelor of Education and then you have to go on to do your master's degree in teaching, I think. But whether that's changed, because it's been a while since I've checked, I'm not sure.
Okay, good, good, right. And exactly what types of things would you learn about in music? You know, would you have to do more piano, piano lessons and piano performances? What, where would you like to take your piano playing, yourself?
I'd like to teach more people as well and be involved in choirs as well because I sing, used to be in choirs before as well, so I've been to that as well. And there's a choir that I want to join, and the ladies that run it, I used to go, I used to have them as teachers at school, and they said that if one of them's in her 80s at the moment, and sometimes she can't get to the rehearsals due to other performances that she does with her other schools. So they actually need sometimes an accompanist. So the lady that conducted the choir said if I can join it, I can become the accompanist when she's not there.
Right. Okay. Very good. Excellent. Hmm. All right. All right. So if someone is blind and they're listening to this episode, right? What would you
Yes.
say, like how should somebody approach learning the piano from a blindness perspective? What is your whole like educational philosophy? And
Well,
you're gonna be asked this a lot. Yeah.
I always start with teaching them the scales first, um, and then if there's any songs that they want to learn, if I know them, I can help them with them. Or because I also play by ear, I can look them up on YouTube and learn them, and then I can teach them to the students.
Right. Right. That is very, very important. Right. Hmm. Right. That's good. That's good. Okay. Okay, good. So when you play the piano, what are some of your favorite composers that you like to play?
I don't have a favorite. I just play anything.
Well, okay, but where do you, if you're sitting at home with your piano, right, and you just want to play something on the piano, where would you take your piano? Where would you start playing? Hmm.
Just anywhere, whatever I feel like playing. I don't usually have a set composer or anything. I just play what I feel like playing.
Hmm. Right, right. That is very, very interesting. Okay, good. Have you, in addition to your voice, have you had other, interests in other instruments?
I have tried learning the flute, but couldn't get a sound out of it. And as part of the whole music school in high school, we did have to learn the guitar and the drums. Only
Hmm.
one, only one song, but the whole class had to learn it, not just me.
Right, right.
It was part of the curriculum here.
I see. And what song did you have to learn on the guitar?
It was a while ago, but I think it was "What Shall We Do with a Drunken Sailor."
Ah, yes, yes. And you would have to kind of strum that out on the guitar. Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. That is interesting. And then what about the drums? What would you have to learn with the
We
drums?
just had to learn one beat, which was called the straight eight beat at the time. The whole class had to learn that as well.
Interesting, interesting. So in the Tasmanian schools, do they do a lot of arts? It sounds like you're giving the impression that there's a lot of emphasis on art and creativity in Tasmania, right?
They do have art, they do drama, music, a lot of physical education and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They do other subjects as well, but when you're in high school, the first 2 years, music is compulsory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, and then for grade 9 and 10, which is your last 2 years of high school, then you can choose music as a subject as an option if you wanted to. And they do have as compulsory subjects like they have health, PE, um, English, maths, science. Yeah, there's some of the subjects that they have anyway. And then you can choose your options like music, drama, computing, art.
Mm-hmm.
They do work and metalwork as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Very, very, very nice. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. And what about history? History was always my favorite subject.
Yeah, they do that at a college level, I think. Some schools do it as a compulsory subject, but
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of schools do it at a college level now.
Right. Right. Good. Good.
Unless that's changed, but that's what it was when I was at school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the American high schools, each high school is different, but each state requires, um, a certain amount of credits and in a certain amount of areas. So I think with my school, it was, you need, 4 years. You had to take an English class every year. So you had like 4 years of English. And then I think it was like 3 years of math or science. And then I think it was 4 years actually of history that you had to take and 3 years of 3 years of physical ed. So it just depends. There's different numbers of
Yeah,
years of each of the subjects that you need based on what they think is truly important. So,
yeah. I'm not sure.
mhm.
As I said, it's been a while since I've been in the education system, so it might have changed since I was there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Sure. 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 Okay. Good. Good. Um, and that's also a very interesting thing. So good. Okay. So what city are you living in now at this moment in Tasmania?
I'm living half an hour from Burnie.
Okay. So in your community where you live, um, are there other people who are blind there? What have you noticed about, the community there? What activities are in that community?
Yeah, there's no other blind people that I know of that live in the place I live in. It's a country town, so there's yeah, our closest community is Burnie, and there is a lot of blind people that live there, but I'm not sure what activities they have for them um, at the moment.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay.
But they do have these are national things, but they have Blind Citizens Australia and Vision Australia, which I'm part of, which have teleconferences. Like they have music groups, book clubs, trivia groups, which I also take part in,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually help host some of them sometimes as well.
Interesting. Okay. Good. And what can you expand a little bit more on these music groups or trivia groups and talk a little bit more about what they do? In
Sure.
case there,
With
in
the
case there are
music,
listeners, yeah, because we have a lot of listeners in Australia, so they would probably want to know. Yeah.
yeah, that's okay. The music groups, they meet twice a month for Blind Citizens Australia, and the other one's once a month. And with the Blind Citizens Australia one, we collaborate on different songs, different genres of music as well. At the moment, we're picking songs to do for their 50th anniversary next year. Um, they were established in 1975. So what happens is we have to pick 4 songs from that year to record and play live at the function. So at the moment, we're just considering 4 songs that we can do that. Um, and at the moment in the group, we have people who play the piano, sing, drums, bass guitar, acoustic guitar, and accordion. And with the Vision Australia group, we meet on the first Tuesday of each month, and that's hosted over Zoom. And we just talk about music and play instruments live as well, like whatever instrument people play. Um, they try and play something together as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I interviewed the founder of Vision Australia, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Who created, because I know that sounds very familiar to me. Like who created Vision Australia?
I'm not sure. I've never found that out.
Okay, yeah, because I think I
But
think
it was created from a merger of 4 organisations
Mm-hmm.
in Melbourne and New South Wales, but I'm not sure. I know one of them was called the Royal Victorian Institute for the Blind, but I'm not sure what the others were called.
Yeah, maybe I haven't. I know that I interviewed another Australian person, several other people in Australia, and one of them also ran Zoom groups like this. So maybe he was one of the founders or something like that. But yeah, that is interesting. Hmm.
And with the trivia groups, it's held once a week on a Saturday night, and you get put into 5 teams and have a captain. And when I present, they get me to find 60 to 70 questions for the night, and I pick the team captains and who goes into what team. And you get 2 questions per team. Some of them, I do put a lot of music questions in because there's a girl who's in the group. She is a musician herself, and she actually is trying to get her music out there as well. So I can actually put you in contact with her as well if you'd like, Aaron.
Please, absolutely, please do. And also, speaking of your music, so how many songs have you actually recorded on Spotify?
I haven't recorded any because at the moment I'm still looking into an audio interface and a microphone that
Hmm.
would work with the piano.
Yeah, yeah. You definitely need to talk to the other musicians that I know, because they'll help you to
Yes,
get
that
on
would be
Spotify.
wonderful.
Okay. Then after the conversation, then definitely I'll set you up with my groups and we'll talk.
That'd be
But
great. Thank
but the
you.
reasoning behind all this is, so I actually have a playlist here at Aaron's Opinion called Aaron's Opinion Select, and it's where when I interview a blind musician, and if their music is on Spotify, I add all their Spotify tracks into my Aaron's Opinion Select. So I have musicians who are blind from all over the world who have their music on that playlist. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have to check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a really good feature. So once you get up on Spotify, then you can send me your page and then I can get all your songs onto my playlist. And that's a great way of getting around the world for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Someone else that I was speaking to, he's sighted, he's not blind, but he's also a musician, and he was saying how competitive it can be just to get onto a playlist. So whether a playlist is a big one or a small one, you want to be on a playlist, because you never know where that song will get picked up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Very good. Great. Great. Okay. So considering that these trivia nights are on Zoom, so do you ever have people like from other countries on those Zoom calls, or is it just
No,
restricted?
because they have to be a member of Blind Citizens Australia to be part
That's
of it.
okay.
So,
That's good.
um, I don't know if they will allow people from other countries. They might, but yeah, I'm not sure. I can check into that and get back to you on that if people want to join.
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes people from other countries need a Zoom to go to, and they might be living in a country where they might need that. Sometimes people just need a great event to go to for something to do, just to have a great experience. So yeah.
They
Um,
do have a maximum of how many people can join, though. I don't know why they do that, but there's a
that's
maximum.
which is understandable. I was in because by the way, this episode of Aaron's Opinion, just like all others, is of course brought to you by InnoSearch.ai, a great excuse and a great timing for the sponsor. Which I actually I put the sponsor segment before the conversation. But anyway, yeah, InnoSearch.ai, they host trivia night too on Zoom. But boy, let me tell you, if you get like 40 or 50 people on a Zoom doing trivia, that is a equation, an equation that I've never seen. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So how many people usually go to those Zooms in Australia?
Depends on the night, but we've had 25 at one stage,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
25 is
that's with the presenter as well.
right, right. Yeah, 25 is definitely a lot. There's a lot to deal with 25. Yeah. Hmm. That is very interesting. Okay, good. So yeah, and this other blind musician that is their music on Spotify?
Yes, I think it is.
Oh, okay, that would be very good. Yeah, I definitely would like to be put in touch with that person, and if they want, they can be a guest on the show if they're interested. So, what music do they produce? Like what is their genre? Hmm.
60s and 70s music it is.
Okay, so are they a singer, a vocalist?
They're a multi-instrumentalist.
Okay, so what instruments do they play as a
Uh,
multi-instrumentalist?
Bass guitar, piano, sing, accordion, um, guitar, clarinet, trombone.
Hmm. It sounds like it sounds like they definitely have a Spotify page for sure. Yeah. That's very, very, very good. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay, and how did you come to meet this person?
I met them through the National Brown Music Camps, and I've met them before that, but I can't remember where I met them before that as well.
Interesting. Okay, so you've mentioned this National Braille Music Camp in Tasmania. So tell me about those experiences.
It's actually a national thing. It's held in New South Wales, and it's for a week. They do Braille music lessons, choirs, orchestras.
Hmm.
It's held once a year in June or July, depends on when the school holidays happen in New South Wales, because they use a school to do it in.
Interesting. Okay. So during those 4 weeks, what would you learn or what did you do during those 4 weeks?
It's actually a week. Sorry.
Oh, oh, okay. No, no,
Um,
no worries. You said, for some reason, I thought you said, I
no,
heard
I said for
four
a week.
weeks. Oh,
No, for a week.
got you. For
Sorry.
a week. No worries.
Yes.
You're fine. For a week. Okay.
And
Yeah.
what happens is, it's a long day. You get up at 7:45 in the morning. Then you go and have breakfast, and then you have they have a whole choir, and you're rehearsing songs for the final concert that they have on the Friday night. Then you do Braille music lessons if you're a teacher or a student, depends on, and then you have lunch. Then they do like an orchestra or choir or band for anyone who's interested in joining. Um, then afternoon tea, and you get some free time as well, and concerts every night as well, because they
Interesting.
also pick solo artists from the mini concerts to be involved in the final concert they have.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. So you learn music each day at that camp, and then if you're doing well, they let you have a solo, and then you can do like a little talent show. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they do a concert as well every night. It's,
Okay.
yeah, teachers can be involved as well as students, so it doesn't matter what age
Mm.
or if you're
Hmm.
just starting.
Right. Right. That is very, 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 very interesting. Yeah. Good. Good. Okay. And so what solo did you play when you were going to that camp?
I didn't do anything in the concerts, but I could have if I wanted to. It depends on what people want to do, if they want to or not. But everyone listens and is involved, and they even have people come and do recitals for us as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so
Right.
um, if you were a musician, if you were in Australia at the time, you could have came and done a performance for them if they wanted you to, or if you let them know about it.
That's very, very, very interesting. Yes. Okay, good. Good. And so what were some of your favorite memories from that camp? You know, a lot of funny things can
Everything.
happen.
Just making friends and making music with all of my friends. I still keep in contact with a lot of them, and some of them are being involved in the podcast that I'm doing as well.
That's really excellent, Christy. Yeah. I went to a camp for many years very similar to that. It wasn't necessarily for blind people. It was just a camp for anyone when I was in high school, but middle school and high school. I still remember it actually. I remember the people that ran it and I remember the names of the people. I never knew whatever became of those people. Some are obviously some are still alive, others maybe not. I don't know, but it was a long time ago. So who
Yeah, that's
knows?
the same. That's the same with me. And there's also a Facebook group that we all are members of as well. And it's good to hear all the news that's happening outside of the camps as well. And they do retreats for people who used to go that can't anymore, because if some of them don't have a music degree, but people who can, who they go on and become staff members and choir directors, and band directors as well,
Mm-hmm.
and help with the running of the camp,
Right, right. That's true.
which I'm
That's
hoping
true.
to actually do again. I've spoken to the coordinator, and she said that they will keep me in mind if they need any more teachers.
That's really good. That's excellent. A lot of times at these, well, at the music camps that I went to growing up in middle school and high school, all the people that ran it or were like, okay. So in my case, I was the flutist, so I would be like in the orchestra section, right? But then they also had, so it was a camp for like performing arts, and then they had acting was another section, digital art, visual art, chorus, dance, things like that. And so each of the sections of the camp were ran by someone. So in my case, the man who ran the orchestra section, the I forget what they oh shoot, I forget what they called it now, but I let's call it the orchestra. He was a retired, well, probably not truly fully retired, but at the time he was a former professional trumpetist in orchestras, a concert trumpetist, and then he was also probably a lecturer and probably another teacher. He was doing a lot of things. He had a PhD. So many of the people who run these types of camps are educators themselves and have advanced degrees
Yeah,
from.
that's the same.
Hmm.
That's the same here in Australia with the camp
Right.
that I went on. They are also having people who are sighted that are learning, that are teaching Braille as well, not only sighted blind people, but it's the majority though is blind people.
Right.
At one of the camps I went to, there was 75 people, and the
Mm-hmm.
majority, as I said, were blind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And but were there any sighted people at this camp, or was it just ran by
Yeah,
sighted?
there were, but as not as many sighted people as there were blind.
Right, right. So, I mean, a sighted student could have gone to this camp if they wanted to, right? I guess.
No, no, only
Oh,
blind people go.
oh, so only blind
If
people
they
go.
do have some sight, then they can go, but not fully sighted.
Right, right. That's really, really good. Really interesting. And so was the camp held like on the campus of a university? Where did they hold the camp?
It was an all girls high school that it was held at,
Oh, I see. I see. So, and
and
then,
they had a big music department, and the reason that it was held there is that one of the founding members of the camp was a head teacher there.
I
So
see.
they allowed them to use, when the school wasn't used during the holidays, that's when they run the camps.
Right, right. I see. I see. Yeah, yeah. And was it like a residential camp? Like you slept over, or did you go home at night?
Yes. Yep. No, you stayed over for the whole week.
Oh, good, good. So if it was a high school, where did they set up? Did they just set up a makeshift dormitory? Where did they get the dormitory from?
No, they had the dormitories already set up because it was a boarding school.
Oh, okay. So they just used the boarding school dormitory.
Yes.
Interesting. Interesting. Right. Right. That's that's very unusual actually, because outside of the United States, in most other countries around the world, I've found that whether it's a high school or a university, usually you can't stay there overnight. There's usually not a dormitory. So actually that's quite unusual. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. And so back to the country of Tasmania, what can you tell me like about, like the climate or the weather there as far as the climate?
It does get cold. The hottest temperature that in the part of Tasmania where I've had is 37 degrees, but the coldest is minus 5.9.
Right, right. So in other words, it sounds like there would be all four seasons would be represented there, right?
Yes. Yes. We've even had snow here where I live and been
I
snowed in.
I see. Oh, even being snowed in. Okay,
Yes.
so then it's cold. So then you definitely have four
Yes.
seasons. I know this is going to be this is yeah, and you're allowed to laugh and joke around about it. So this is really silly, but does it ever snow in Australia or no?
Yes, it does actually in the
It
part of
does.
Australia where I am.
So in other words, would it snow in the north of Australia or in the south of Australia?
South of Australia. I don't know
That's
if
what
it
I
does in the north, but I've heard that it does in the south.
Right, right. So that's actually what I thought, but I wasn't quite sure if my logic was right. So it would
Yeah, because I've
technically,
got a friend who lives in Queensland and he's never seen snow until he came down to Tasmania.
right, right. That is interesting. That is interesting. So if it snows in Australia, it would snow in the south, or it would snow in the south because the south would be colder than the north of Australia, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Because it's the southern hemisphere. That's exactly what I thought. But I've actually never asked an Australian that. We in America, we've never actually given that thought. In America, you probably have the impression that it snows every winter, and it really doesn't. It just depends, just like there
No,
on where you live.
I've had a
Yeah,
cousin who lives in the US, and she said no, it doesn't.
it doesn't. What part of the states is your cousin from?
Well, she used to live in Kansas City, Missouri.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. But now she's back in Australia, I think, as far as I know.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, certain parts of the country get a lot of snow. Of course, the Northeast and the northern part of the country gets snow for most of the winter, but the people who live there are of course used to it. So to them, it's not a big deal. And the South, it can snow anywhere in the South, really, just less frequently. Hmm. Yeah. Um,
Yes.
that's all very, very interesting. Yeah. Um, so what the other question that I really want to know is what really motivates you and what really pushed you over the edge to start a podcast? Because it takes, a very special person like you and I are, and it takes a lot of effort and extra work to get into the podcast space these days. So what is your true motivation? Why do you feel that you need a podcast and need to create a podcast there?
Well, I've always been interested in learning how to record things and never had the opportunity. And Blind Citizens Australia, through a community radio broadcasting grant, they actually gave blind people the opportunity to learn about audio production and podcasting. I didn't get to do the whole course because part of it was held in Melbourne and we had other things on at the time. But um, and we've been learning about Reaper as well, which is a recording program
Mm-hmm.
that blind people use. I don't know whether you've used it. Have you,
You
Aaron?
a Oh, you asked, so I'll answer. No. Yes, I know what Reaper is, but no, I don't use it.
Right.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm a very raw, I don't really do much editing. So
oh,
this
okay.
is, but that's me. You'll find in the podcast space that everybody has a different flavor, right?
It has a different perspective. Yeah. I
And,
have realized that
and
with
you're
the
gonna,
recordings that I've been getting, like people use different ways to record as well. Like some people use their phone or computers or
right,
whatever they have to use.
right. Well, the thing is, as all this technology is getting better and better each year, it's a lot easier to do a much more sophisticated recording with very little technology.
Yeah.
That's
And that's what
that's
I've
the
found with the
amazing thing.
recordings that I've received so far.
Right, right. Okay. Well, let's kind of walk through the processes of this. So you haven't launched the podcast yet, although when it is launched, you know that my audience and we definitely need to know about it, and I certainly want to make
Yes,
sure that
I'm
my
definitely going to
audience.
share it with you.
So we need to get my audience involved. We have several people in South Africa who also have internet radio stations. So we'll make sure that these podcasts are played all over the world to make sure that these artists get the credit and the recognition they deserve. So
That would
absolutely.
be wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, I mean, yes, provided that, as I say, if you can help me, if you can help me a little, I can help you a little. It's going to take, following the other thing that I do tell people to get into podcasting is you have to follow through. You have to have follow through. When we tell
Yes,
you
and
to
that's what I've
send,
been doing. I've been working on it to follow it through. So
right, right. And it does take practice.
it
There's no
does.
easy way.
Yes.
It takes practice to follow up with people and to maintain people to know, okay, I heard from Aaron a couple days. Oh, but I'm not going to talk to him today. I want to give him a break. And then 2 days later, oh, wait, I need to remind him of something. You have to practice that. It's a very subtle thing of knowing when to remind people of things. Absolutely, it is. Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like you're like compiling some recordings together. So how are you going to lay out each episode? Is it going to be um, one artist for each episode, or is it going to be a compilation? Or how are you going to approach it?
It depends on how long the artists make the recordings, because I haven't put a time limit on. I've just left it up to the artist, and if there's some that are only like 3 or 4 minutes, I will make it a compilation episode. But if there's ones that aren't, then I'll make it a full episode of each artist.
Right, right. And generally, how long do you think you need to record to say it's a full episode?
Well, the longest episode that I've received so far, recording I've received is 40 minutes. So that would be a full episode, I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing too that I would say, and I could be wrong or I could be right, who knows? It's all just an opinion show. But when you deal with music, the other thing that you have to be very, very careful about is of course all the famous copyright stuff, making sure that you're allowed to
Yeah,
play.
I did check into that before I started the
Yeah,
podcast. I've got a friend who's in the recording industry.
yeah.
And I did check into that. And because I'm not making any money out of it kind of thing, it's just introducing people to the music.
Hmm.
There is no copyright issues around that. I'm not sure how it
Probably.
works, but that's what he informed me.
Probably not. I would say once you get connected with my group, once we'll get you connected with somebody who is a recording expert, and I have somebody here at Aaron's Opinion who is not only, and this is just a great person. Not only is he and he's not here in the chat. I wish he was. His name. Let's give a shout out to our great friend in the community, the great Denny Jackson. And Denny, you'll meet him in a few minutes. Denny is never mind about the music. He's a really nice friend. He is a really, really kind person. He is just such a nice guy. He lives, he lives with his girlfriend, and they are both musicians who are blind. Their speciality is Spanish music, so they have a very Latin. They're like kind of like Latin artists, basically. Is their style. Have you listened to any previous episodes of Aaron's Opinion?
Yes, I have. And you've done a brilliant job. Thank
Well,
you.
well, you're so well. No, thank you, and you're so welcome, and that's so sweet. But have you listened to what was it called now? I think the episode is called "Down to the Streets with Denny Jackson." Have you ever heard that one?
No, I haven't listened to that one yet, but I will look for that one
Oh man,
after the recording.
man, man, oh man, that was an incredible one. What about an amazing? Oh, I know what I called it now. I think the episode's called "An Amazing Performance with Denise Barajas." Have you listened to that one?
No, but I will look that one up as well.
Only reason I'm plugging previous episodes, I hope you understand there's a method to my madness. The reason why I'm plugging those episodes is because those are two of our musicians, and we have many others. There's another great friend in the community, EJ the Phoenix, is another incredible human being and an incredibly kind friend and just a great musician too. EJ the Phoenix. You'll meet all these people soon, but especially
That'll be wonderful.
I've noticed though that Denny is grossly knowledgeable about how to publish songs legally and properly, and how to fill out the forms, and how to set it up with the right platform, and how to label it right. He'll definitely, I'm sure you're on the right track, but if you weren't, he would definitely say, no, Kristy, here's what you would need, what tag you need, or whatever. He would be your person to talk to about how to get it set up the right way. Absolutely.
That'll be great. Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, all of them are ridiculous. All of them are ridiculous. Those three people, Denny Jackson, Denise Barajas, and EJ the Phoenix, are ridiculously knowledgeable people, and all are incredibly kind. Um, and their music is just spectacular. The lady Denise, she sung a version of Amazing Grace that is so beautiful that you would just have to listen to it for yourself. So, but that's all very interesting. So okay, so artists, so considering that this is a podcast, right? So could artists come to your show from like all over the world and send in their tracks? I mean, and send in their
Yes. Yes,
okay.
they
So
can.
I'm wondering what's not really clear to me, and I know that it's not clear to me because you haven't really done it yet. So I know there's some things you're still working out and thinking, right? But so what are the protocols, and how are you going to organize a submission, and like how will it actually work? Because artists could send in anything they want, and there has to be some parameter, right?
Yeah, I haven't thought of the parameters yet, but if they want to send in originals or covers of songs, that's fine by me. They just email it to me and I have a listen and I let them know via email, or I set up a time to talk to them about it
Right.
regarding, yeah, I have thought of that, because that's one thing we did learn in the podcasting sessions that I did.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. So, okay, so they would send in their song, and then would they send in like an audio clip saying who they are, or
Yeah,
would you?
I'd get
Yeah.
them I'd get them to do is put the audio clip on to the beginning of the song so that, then and if there's any editing that I'd have to do, I can still do it as well.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. And then would you interview them on your show, like actually ask them questions in the episode itself?
No, I'd get them to do the recording, but
Hmm.
if they wanted to, they could come onto the show as well. And
Because I was thinking that could be very powerful. You know, if you get somebody to send in their music, send in their number one track, right? And then you play it and then you interview them about the track and then you edit it all together. That would be really good. You know, like, oh, we just heard your track. Now tell me who you are as a person and tell me how you came to write all that and things like that. So that's an idea. You know, you could do it that way too and do all the editing and put it all together, you know? So yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I didn't think of that. You just said it, Ben. Thank you for the idea.
Right, right, yeah. Because if it's only them sending in a track of them talking for a few minutes, and then the music, then you know it's. I mean, it's still great. It'll still be great, but there won't be that interview flow. You know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. 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 Okay. Good. Great. Mm. So, okay. So anybody from anywhere in the world could send in their music to your show. Well, I think that would be really, really, really powerful. Yeah, definitely. So what other interests do you have besides, you know,
I love
music, which is a
reading.
huge thing? Oh,
Yeah, I love reading, and there is a TV show that I like to watch here in Australia called The Voice, which is for musicians, but it's one that I really enjoy listening to as well.
right, right. I see. So when you read, what books do you like to read, and are you an Audible user?
No, I use the Vision Australia Library, and
Oh,
also
okay.
I read in Braille as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Good. So by Vision Australia Library, how does that work?
You can download books audio. Sorry, they've got about 50,000, I think, the last time I heard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they've got podcasts, magazines, newspapers as well.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay, Vision. So it's called Vision Australia Library, right?
yes, yes.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. And how would I find out about that? I'm just purely curious.
If you go onto visionaustralia.org, and then click on library, that will tell you more information.
Okay, so visionaustralia.org. All right.
Yes.
Very interesting. Okay, good, good. Um, excellent. That's really really good. In the States, we love Audible. Audible is really good because the books and the titles are read by professional narrators. You know, with Vision Australia Library, are the titles read just by volunteers?
No, some of them are done by professionals as well because they can convert from links from Audible and add to their catalog.
Okay, so maybe Vision Australia is buying from Audible and just pulling. Maybe they buy some titles from Audible and just pull them in and download them into their catalog.
Yes,
Maybe.
yes.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Being that I've never been to Australia, I wouldn't know. But who are the leading authors these days in Australia? Like, what's the latest reads there? Hmm.
I'm not sure because I just read whatever people recommend to me.
Okay,
So
okay, but I
they
mean,
have a
what are
proper
some?
website.
Well, okay, Christy, but that's okay. But I mean, what are some popular stuff in Australia? I mean, if you read, I thought you would.
Um,
Yeah.
there is an author that is really popular at the moment. Her books have just one of them's just been made into a TV series. Heather Morris.
Hmm.
Yeah,
right.
Her books have been really popular, I've been told.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right, right. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So it sounds like you've done a lot of traveling too. So where have you traveled to outside of Tasmania and Australia? What other parts of the world have you been to?
I've only been in Australia. I haven't been out of the country. So,
Oh, okay. That's all right. So
but
did
I've
you
always
ever?
been interested in going to the Netherlands because that's where part of my family's originally from. So,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you thought about learning Dutch?
yes, I've started doing that.
Oh, that's super cool. Super, super good. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Haven't got very far in it yet, but hoping
Yeah.
to get further.
Well, because I'm bilingual English and French, so it's good to be a bilingual person. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very good. Hold on one moment, one second. Yeah, it's always good to be bilingual. Yeah. So what part of the Netherlands are your family from?
One of them's from The Hague, if you know where that is in the
I've heard of it.
Netherlands.
I've heard the place.
Yeah,
Heard of the place.
and
Sure,
the other,
sure.
and some of them are from Rotterdam.
Rotterdam. Okay, interesting. Interesting. And are any of them blind or are they just sighted people who happen to be
No,
Dutch?
they're fully sighted.
That's all right. It's good. Cool. Cool. Very, very good. Yeah. Hmm. Excellent. Excellent. And that is a very interesting thing. Yeah. Right. So did you ever visit your cousin in Missouri in the States? Because I thought you had
No,
a cousin in Missouri. You never came.
yeah, no, she came back before it. But none of us have been out of the country. But the rest
Ah,
of them.
okay. Okay. So you're into reading, you're into that. That's very, very good. All excellent stuff. Yeah. So so if you don't mind me asking, do you live with your family? Do you live alone with friends? Like how are you living now?
I live with my mother and my sister and two nieces.
Okay, great. Lovely, lovely. And are all of them sighted?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sometimes the reason why I'm asking that question a couple times is a lot of times, as you know, blindness can be, there can be more than one family member with a similar cause of blindness. That's why I'm wondering that. Or in some cases, like my family or your family, we're the only blind people. So it just depends. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of people in Australia, and I know a lot of them that are both blind and have had children that are sighted. And there also is a family that I've heard of that is blind and has a blind child as well.
Right. Yeah, it could go both ways,
Yeah, that's right.
with all the genetics and the whole universe, that could easily go in any direction. Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. That is very, very interesting. Sure. Okay. And so do you have any pets? Do you live with any animals?
Yes, we've got horses, dogs, chooks, geese, guinea fowls, and fish, and a sheep, and a
Oh,
cat.
lovely. Oh, lovely. I'm fascinated. I have a fascination with birds, so that's so good. Yeah. Yeah. Specifically, what guinea fowl do you have?
I'm not sure. There's a fair few out there, I think.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Interesting, interesting. Very good. Yeah. Great, great. Okay, good. So and how did we find each other, by the way? I think you posted in some particular group on Facebook, right?
Yeah, I think it was the Blind Pen Pals group.
Could have
And
been.
then I was invited to to one of the chats that,
Yeah, so I don't use, by the way, I hope you didn't take this personally, but I don't use, well, I mean, as you know, I mean, of course I use Messenger for like one-on-one chat, like that's always okay, like one-on-one on Messenger, that's always fine, but I don't do the Messenger group chats. No,
no,
that's,
with our internet, I sometimes don't either. It depends on how good the internet's working.
what do you mean there? I didn't quite catch it. Say again? Didn't quite catch it.
Because we're on fixed wireless, I sometimes don't post in group chats either very often.
Yeah, I just think that WhatsApp is the easiest way to communicate because it always
Yeah.
works. The
Yeah,
problem
well,
that
I did try to get that, but when
Oh,
I
that's
signed
all right.
up.
That's okay, Christy. No worries. No worries. Oh, okay. No problem. I'll still say, you know what I'll do? After after our episode, I'll still send you all of the necessary information. I would say back to my musician friends, Denny and they're all on WhatsApp. Um, in fact, they are not very active on Facebook at all. Actually, two of them, the two people, first two that I mentioned, Denny and Denise, I don't know if they ever post. They post very infrequently on Facebook. So yeah, you may, I do understand that it's frustrating to have to use an app that you are not fully confident with, but you may have to take a closer look at WhatsApp. Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
no, I'm
need,
hoping to because I've been invited to it by friends of mine. So,
well,
but it's
you
just
don't
with the
need,
mobile phone.
right. No. And so to clarify, you don't need your number. You don't need a number to join it. At least I don't think you do. You can also join just through your email, you know.
Yeah, I
Um,
did that, but after signing up, it said that you need a QR code sent to a mobile number.
Okay. Okay. I think what has happened is that too many people were taking advantage of the fact that you don't need a number to join it. I think that's
Right.
what was going on. Yeah. So then they said, fine, you need a number. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, know that I am very, very, very sensitive about security and being respectful of people. So I do understand that can be a discreet thing for people. But know that as long as you're in my groups, I'm an admin obviously, and I have several other admins who work with me, and we take security very, very
Yeah, and
seriously.
I understand that too because I'm admins of groups, so I'm the same.
So yeah, I would say what I'll do is I'll send you the info and you can join when you can is what I can tell you
Okay.
for that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Um, yeah. So, and each country is different. Why do you think, so do most people in Australia use WhatsApp to communicate? I mean, most of the world does WhatsApp, right? Like even Australia, right?
Well, I've
Mostly.
noticed I've noticed a lot of people use Facebook as well as WhatsApp. All the
Yeah,
people I've
but
spoken.
right, but
They've,
WhatsApp is easier to communicate. WhatsApp is easier to use. It's easier and secure. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of people I've heard as well use Discord. I've never heard of it, but a lot of people use that. I've been
So
told.
we're on there. So Discord, Christy, let me tell you. Sure. So Discord is like, okay, the silly way to put it is, so if, if, if Facebook and it's the combo, it's the combo between Facebook and Zoom and that. It's like a combination between those two concepts. I think that it can be useful and it's fun when you're in a big server and you join a voice channel. We have one at Aaron's Opinion, but nobody uses it. So I find that Discord can be a little less, um, a little less applicable. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. But it's still very useful. So, okay, so you're doing all of that. So when do you hope to launch this new great podcast? Because I can already tell it's going to be a great success. So when do you hope, when are you planning on launching it?
As soon as I get the audio interface, because I've already started working out some episodes to go first, and then I'll be doing an audio introduction and putting it up on Pinecast. As soon as I do that, I'll be
Right,
launching it.
right. That is very, very good. Yes, that would be, that would be great. Yeah. And why, there's nothing wrong with Pinecast. I'm just wondering why have you gravitated towards Pinecast? What can you tell people about Pinecast?
I've never used it before, but I've heard that it's very accessible for blind people to use.
Hmm. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, great. All right. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, know that there's always a great time to podcast. This is the time to get into the podcast space. And everybody starts with 0 downloads and then they move from there. So, you should never be afraid or intimidated to get into the space of
No,
podcasting.
I haven't been, so I'm looking forward to it actually.
Oh, that's really, really, really excellent. Once you get into my WhatsApp community, you're going to be fine. Once you overcome the WhatsApp thing, you're going to be fine. That's where
Yeah, thank you.
the majority of the communication amongst the guests is on WhatsApp. Of course, there's also a private Facebook group, but that's also for the public. And there's also a public WhatsApp community, which a WhatsApp community, the difference between the two is a WhatsApp community is a bigger WhatsApp group for a community. So you can have multiple
Yeah, that's what I
groups.
thought.
It is. It's pretty cool. So the subtle difference between a WhatsApp group and a WhatsApp community is that there's a private WhatsApp group just for the guests of Aaron's Opinion, and that's private. That's locked. Just you have, my rule is you have to be a guest on the show first to get in there.
Yeah.
But then we have Aaron's Opinion Podcasting Community, which is a WhatsApp community, and the public can join it. And the difference there is that that's open to anyone. Now, you still have to have a clearance to join. You still have to request to join it. And that's how we filter out the people that shouldn't be there. So that's how that
Yeah.
works. And then there's a Facebook group, which is private, which you can join that too. You might even already be in that. I forget if you are or not. But yeah,
Yes, I did review for your podcast.
you thank you. You did review it. Yes, thank you so much. I hope you understand. It's all a blur to me. Luckily, with all the conversations that I have each day on Zoom, it's all a blur from all over the universe. So yeah, no, you did a great review. But are you in the private Facebook group?
I did that on your page. I don't think I was on your private Facebook group.
Yeah, there's a Facebook. Yeah, I'll show it to you. Yeah, I'll send it. There's a Facebook group that you should be into, and you can certainly post your stuff there once you start uploading things. So,
Okay, thank you.
super good, super good. All right. Well, I think that covers a lot of who you are as a person. I think that you certainly are well on your way to being a great podcaster and providing a tremendously valuable service to musicians all over the world. I think that's going to be a really touching thing. So, what are some questions that you want to ask me? Because I'm sure you have some questions about Aaron Richmond.
I've only got one, actually, whether you'd like to be involved in my podcast promoting yours.
I would love to be on your podcast. Absolutely love that. There's no greater compliment than to know that I help someone else. So I would love to be on your podcast. Although I'm not a musician.
Would be wonderful.
I'm not a musician.
No, that's okay. But I thought to promote your podcast, you would be involved in that way.
Yeah. Well, what you can do is you can have a special interview where you interview me just on your podcast. That would be good.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, don't think it. Do it. Let's do it. Why don't you just interview me? That would be great. Sure. Absolutely, we can arrange that. So how are you thinking about doing interviews? I really find that Zoom is always the easiest, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well, doing it over Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom is really simple and really easy. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, because I've recorded things before and set up meetings. So yes, that's what I was thinking of doing.
Yeah, Zoom is never a problem. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what are some questions that you have for me that you really want to know about who I am as a person, my podcasting? What do you really want to know?
Yeah, how long have you been doing podcasting? And
since
what
2020.
inspired you to get it?
Well, we got started in 2020. The show, Aaron's Opinion, has been through many versions over the years until we got to the place where we are now with the hundreds of episodes that we already have. I was doing a lot of teaching as I am now. I was doing teaching during the pandemic, and I was listening to podcasts around the blindness space, but they just were not open to my opinions. And I really had a problem with that. So I wanted to create a space where anybody can come up to my microphone and talk about their lives. And so that's what I do, on Aaron's Opinion. I wanted to create an environment where anybody can come up and share their story. And that's what you did. So that's how it got here.
Well, you do a wonderful job as well, hosting.
I really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it, Kristy. You're so welcome. I think once you get used to interviewing, I think you're going to do really well too. So,
yeah, I have had some experience. When I get the podcast link, I'll send you the episode that I did, and you can have a listen if you'd like, Aaron.
Oh yeah, I would definitely listen to it. Yeah, after you release your first episode, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll send you the one that I helped out with as well.
Right, but that's a slightly different podcast. Though.
Yes.
But yes, we can definitely put those in my groups and get people to be aware of that content. A lot of moving up in the podcast space is helping people to be aware, is raising awareness of what you're doing. That's a huge thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Well, what else do you want to know?
That's all. You've answered all the questions that I had, actually.
Well, that's very good. Very good. I like you're very direct. You're very to the point. You're very effective. I'm noticing that once you start practicing the art of podcasting, I think you're going to be a very effective and a huge voice in the industry. So I have a very good impression. So at any
Thank
rate,
you.
yeah, at any rate, if you, if you don't mind, I think we've covered everything that we could have. And I
Yes.
think that really wraps up a beautiful conversation. So do you have any, let's see, let me just see something here. Okay. So before we get going today, before we end the conversation, do you have any final words for the audience here at Aaron's Opinion?
Yes, I'm hoping the people are interested in joining my podcast, and you're welcome to email me, which or get in contact with Aaron to give the contact details, or I can share it in the groups as well. Yours, Aaron, when I can remember.
Yeah, you can definitely share the contact in the group, but why don't you at least say your email address so that if the public is listening, they can have a way
Sure.
to
My
get in
email address
touch.
is
Yeah.
Kristy Stichter 8, which is KRISTYSTICHTER, the number 8 at gmail.com.
Kristy Stichter 8 at gmail.com. All right. Sounds very good. Sounds very good. We have a 6, Aaron's Opinion 6 at
Yes, I
gmail.com.
noticed that.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's what Google came up with for Aaron's Opinion. They put a 6 on the end
Yeah,
of it.
that's the
Aaron's,
same with when I did mine as well.
yeah,
Come up with the 8, so
yeah. That's the power of Google and the AI and just coming up with something. So yeah.
it is, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So thank you for joining us. The other thing is I want to take this time to thank you for spending part of your Sunday afternoon,
Not a problem.
all the way down under. Thank you for coming all the way up over to join me on a Saturday night or on a Sunday afternoon there in Australia. So yeah, very nice. Very good.
Thank you.
Do you know how I end an episode of Aaron's Opinion?
No, because our internet dropped out before I could hear that.
That's okay. We say, Kristy, thank you for joining us. We will connect on Messenger a little later, and be well, and let me know what's going on in your podcast, and you can certainly interview me next. But until then, thank you so much, everybody, and we will certainly be back soon. So, as we say here at Aaron's Opinion, be well, and we'll connect next time. Have a great day. Help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.